I think that life is what you make of it. You get up in the morning and you put one foot out and another foot, and if you're lucky, you're standing up.
I love to get up each morning, so see what I can do for somebody else.
Just don't ever quit. Don't sit down, because at my age, at 96, if you ever sit down, you'll never get up.
You have to take a deep breath to talk about Edith and art, because she has been involved in so many areas of art in San Antonio, whether it's the museums, whether it was the Art League, but I think one of her true loves is the Southwest Craft Center. That, of course, as we all know, was the old Ursuline Academy, and so Edith really was the founder of that, and that made it an opportunity for children and adults to learn about art and experience art.
Edith is the #1 member of Club Giroux. And Club Giroux, which is the backbone now to help the Craft Center, is very, very important to the city.
I think that that now, particularly the city fathers, are very, very pleased that the Southwest School of Art is starting a degree program, and we will be the only art school in the state of Texas that freestanding, and that is not connected with a university, who will be awarding art degrees. And the city fathers are also very happy because the 3 blocks we own, in which one of them is the old Ursuline Academy, with buildings that are famous across the whole country. The dormitory, what we call the dormitory building, is the biggest rammed earth construction building still standing and still in use.
If it hadn't been for Edith, we probably wouldn't have a CTRC. She is not only someone who's a trailblazer, but if the door's closed, she kicks it open. And she's our heroine.
That's very complimentary, but not exactly accurate. But it was Dr. Russ Norman was a radiologist, and he said, "You've got to stop all that arts and culture business and come out to the medical center and do something of real value." And I discovered that he had the idea of Cancer Therapy and Research Center, which we refer to as CTRC, as being a nonprofit entity that would own all that horrendously expensive equipment that it took to diagnose disease. We could have all this equipment for qualified doctors to use. And it was so successful that we ended up building the big CTRC building that's on the corner of Floyd Curl and Harry Wurzbach, which has made incredible strides, not only in this city, in this area, but has been a role model for the whole United States.
If you see a person with 2 phones, having both of them working at the same time, now don't tell the police department, but she's driving her car, and then she is picking someone up to take them to lunch, probably me, and she's yelling at me that, can you get in the car all right? So, but she is a person that everyone respects. And I've been in membership in clubs that what is so fascinating, she can incorporate into that in an hour what I guarantee you, if somebody else was running it, it would be 2.5 hours. You know, one of our hearts of our city now is our San Antonio River. And if you go on a ride on one of those barges, and if you have Jane on the barge with you, it is so fascinating because 90% of the buildings, now I'm not talking about the Craft Center, that's before Jane's time, but the newer buildings in the last, say, 40 years, Jane's had a part of it.
Well, I've just been very lucky to have had the opportunity to be the city attorney of San Antonio. And through the leadership of Mayor Lila Cockrell and Mayor Cisneros, they gave me an opportunity to work on public-private partnership projects. And in the early 80s, really the last hotel that had been built was the one that Mayor McAllister did in 1968. And that was a Hilton Hotel. But since that period of time, we had a lot of trouble getting folks to invest in San Antonio. And so I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to work on many of the downtown hotels. And I always say that I have the opportunity to do junk food, old folks, and hotels, and a few car garages along the way. So it's been a great run.
She is a role model for other younger and older women. It doesn't make much difference to age, but she is a role model to whom you can point and say to women, and particularly women, girls who maybe haven't been encouraged to be the most they can be. But there is Jane that you can point to and say, you see, this is what you could become. That's very valuable.
My favorite story about Rosemary is that when she was inducted into the Hall of Fame, of the Business Hall of Fame, and she was one of 2 or 3 women in the whole history of the Hall of Fame, she looked around at these gentlemen and she said, you all have millions of dollars, but I have 1 million pans, and I have served 1 million people.
I always like to tell about catering that at the end of World War II, when we went into business in 1946, Rosie the Riveter did not want to go back to work in a home as the maid or the cook or the laundress. So she decided she could get out and earn a living another way. And that's what helped catering to be established. Because up till then, women were just teachers or nurses. Otherwise, women stayed at home.
I don't think anyone really realizes, who hasn't watched Rosemary for all these years, realizes how hard a job it is that she is capable, and she is capable of not only managing it, but she's there doing the actual hard, dumb work. She doesn't just trust somebody else to do it. She's there doing it herself.
Just the word Rosemary is extremely important. Just like Cher, you know, when you talk about, they don't use a last name. They just say Rosemary. And so she is a household word. Rosemary not only has all the enthusiasm, there is no place in this city that you can go that they don't know Rosemary. They either worked for Rosemary, she served them food, and she takes an interest in every person, whether she is feeding the Pope, or whether she is feeding high-level elected officials, or whether she's working at the blind office.
I met Edith mainly through Mayor Mack, but also through all of the wonderful philanthropy she's done with all the clubs, and I was honored to do the catering. So when I drove up today to her back door, that was the way I always came, was to the back door.
Mayor Mack loved Rosemary. He just thought she was one of the greatest human beings, and she is, in the world. But the day he died, I didn't call Rosemary anything, but the back door opened, and here is Rosemary with all her people and setting up food on the table, because he was well known, and there were a lot of people who came by knowing that this would be where the family was. And without a phone call, without anything, Rosemary had the table set up and everything ready to serve, which is a wonderful memory.
Absolutely fabulous.
That was neat.
Well, San Antonio College is so important to San Antonio and Bexar County. It is the training ground for employers. It is the place where children can graduate and grow up from high school, and it is an opportunity, as when Mayor McAllister was mayor, when Henry Cisneros was mayor, we always talked about a two-fisted approach to economic development. One was education, and the other was the job. And so
my late husband chaired that board, and it was his most favorite thing to do. He was the one who walked the streets and bought up all the property that has now made it possible for the college to expand.
Well, I've been attached with all of the new ones because of St. Philip's with the culinary arts, and I've been to a number of meetings that is run, the whole college campus, all of them are run so sufficiently to help our young people. And it's so fascinating to see how many people are able to go to college because of the whole system.
That's right. Working for the greater good is the best thing you can do for your very own self. It's best for your health, your happiness, your attitude toward life. Just continue working for the greater good.
Winston Churchill once said, "I'd rather wear out than rust out." And I think that that's sort of our motto of the three of us.
That was a very good quote.